What is good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gray, your one and only corrupted angel, and today we're back with some more Warframe. I know it's been a little bit of a gap between the previous episode, but that was just because we were really getting into the Stardew Valley series. If you haven't already, go check it out, give it some love, and let's do a weapon review. Now, I do have Gauss coming out very soon. I know I got asked about that in one of my previous videos. We are going to have a Gauss build coming very soon. But let's get into a weapon that I've been looking forward to for a while, and you might see it on my hip. It is the Vesper 77. The Vesper 77 is a really awesome looking gun, and I absolutely love it, but it's also a really strange one. We'll get into the build real quick, but we'll talk about why I'm not the biggest fan of this gun at the same time as I am. So let's get straight to it. The build is pretty simple. Let's talk about the unique trait first. Aiming activates a laser sight which highlights weak points and grants a 40% more critical damage. This means that you're wanting to ADS with this weapon, you're wanting to do as much damage as possible, all that sort of good stuff. Really, really handy, and just overall gives you a massive damage boost, which is nothing to scoff at. Now we've got the build itself, which obviously if we're getting crit damage, we want to be building for crit. So we have Pistol Gambit primed, ready to go with 68.9% critical chance. You could easily use Creeping Bullseye here, right, to get more critical chance than this and got to, I think, about 72. I personally don't use that mod. I just prefer Prime Pistol Gambit right on here, just as a really good option. Prime Target Cracker for that extra bit of bonus damage, obviously a really important addition. And then we have Pistol Acuity. This is the first time I've ever used an Acuity mod, and I both love it and hate it. Pistol Acuity gives us a crap ton of weak point damage and also a crap ton of weak point critical chance. The only downside is we lose out on multi-shot, so you won't see any multi-shot in this build, but Pistol Acuity is both really easy to obtain in just doing your bounty missions and stuff like that, but it is also incredibly good for this weapon. We want to be doing big crits, big damage. We're targeting weak spots as is, as a given, and I think that is just really, really good. We then have Pistol, Pestilence, and Jolt to create Corrosive. Now, I don't know how much I feel on this combo. I think there is definitely a world where you just don't bother with these two. Maybe go for something like Magnetic Might instead, and Scorch. This is a perfectly serviceable combo too. We get even more crit damage, and we get some heat procs. I think that's also completely reasonable. And then we have Leaded Gas, which is its augment mod. This gives us 300% critical, so 300% gas damage on critical hits or weak point hits, and status chance for 6 seconds, which is ridiculously good when you consider how much status chance we're then putting on this build. You then have Galvanized Shots. That way every single time we put on a status chance, we are gaining more damage. You've got Hornet Strike to gain more damage, and if you wanted to, you could go the extra mile and put secondary Deadhead on here. That would be really, really good for this build. I personally didn't even need it in this situation, and that's something to keep in mind as well when you're doing this build. Every single thing here is very much so up to you on how you want to build it in terms of element, but also if you want to even invest that arcane. Now, this is why I said if you want to invest that arcane. Let's get into our mod run and I'll show you exactly what I mean and the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of this weapon. And to boil it down if I had to, the reason why I don't like it all that much is purely because of one reason. And that is the fact that the gun itself relies incredibly on headshots. Obviously, by the way we built it, it relies incredibly on headshots. But to the point where it feels really, really lackluster if you don't hit the headshot. Like really, really lackluster. So I missed. I get it, I do big damage. I get it, I do big damage. And then if I don't, I do absolutely 0 damage, as you can see. And it requires quite a fair bit of aiming. And I am skill issued at this game, and I also play this game incredibly hard and fast. And when you are in a situation like this, where you're one-shot headshotting things, yeah, it feels great, right? But it also doesn't. I don't know if it's just a thing that I have sort of done with this weapon, where it doesn't feel super great, and there's probably a better way to build it. I don't know. But this is what has worked for me, and it does incredible damage. Obviously hitting high 100,000s, high millions sometimes, right? And that is always fun. I mean, there you saw 500k. That was 75 just on a body shot. There you go, 700k, 200. It just depends. But the problem is, again, I'm just not really killing stuff fast enough because I can't land these headshots. There was a 2 million damage headshot there. But my point still stands. Unfortunately, it just doesn't feel super great. It is effective, and it can do the job, but I'm bad, and that makes it feel bad. And I think unless you're really a crack shot, I don't see this weapon being necessarily for you. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below on your opinion on this weapon, just because to me personally, I really love the satisfying one-shot, but the level of skill and accuracy required to get those one-shots makes it feel a little rough, to say the least. Now, you can do some insane damage to a group of enemies if you can hit. I mean, that's the only problem. I'm not exactly hitting. But look at those gas procs. Those gas procs are huge. And they do damage, again, only if you can hit, and I've already missed so many. And it feels like sometimes you're just not hitting them, period. Which I don't know if that's necessarily my fault or what, but it doesn't feel super great.
Life support on the way.
It still does ridiculous damage. I don't want to undersell the amount of damage this thing, because it does do an egregious amount of damage. The only problem is, as you can see, sometimes it just is ridiculously difficult to actually get the hits that you want on them. Even with that little bit of extra support from that aiming reticle. There you go, I just popped off and got like 6 in a row, and that was pretty good, but yeah, it just doesn't feel super great. It's one of the reasons why I personally prefer the AX42, or sorry, 52 I think it is. I prefer the AX52 when it comes to the hipfire mode compared to the accurate mode, just because, again, when you're flying around the map and you're kind of rushing around, you're not sitting back like this. If I wasn't Inaros, my ability to kill everyone with this gun would be so limited, I would be dying unless I was on an invisibility frame or Harrow with an invisibility. If you had a Harrow in this build, maybe some extra investment or some additional love there, I could see it. If you wanted to throw on some steady hands even, as an Exilus option, that would be fine. This gun really doesn't have any trouble killing things, so Harrow might even be considered overkill. You might want to go with more fire rate and some steady hands if you can handle that sort of a gameplay. I personally am just not skilled enough to use this gun, and I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how you would perform with it, but it certainly does feel awkward. I don't want to say bad. I actually, you know, I take back what I said. I don't think it's bad in terms of feel to use. It just feels awkward. It feels a little uncomfortable. It doesn't feel super pleasant. Even there, I mean, assuming that I can actually expose his head, there you go. You can see it does really good damage against the assassins, and you could always just use it as an assassin killing tool. But when you're in a group of enemies and you're playing like this is where it becomes ridiculously hard. Enemies staggering, enemies fighting each other, fighting your allies if you're not soloing as well. Sometimes the game just missing, even though that could have been a headshot. There is all of that to consider. So keep that in mind when you're building this weapon. And if you want to invest in it, I invested in it for you to give you those sort of answers on whether or not you would probably like this playstyle. Hopefully I have helped with that, but I really don't know. This is the first video back, and I really hope that you enjoy it. It's a fairly simple weapon. Shoot the head, get a crap load of damage, and do a lot of gas procs. The gas procs do rip apart crowds, and it is incredibly effective at killing crowds as long as you can hit those headshots. Now the question isn't whether or not the gun is good, it's unfortunately whether or not you have skill issues such as myself and you hit those headshots or not. So the question is, do you? I'll leave it up to future me to do the outro, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you all enjoyed the content. If you want to see more Warframe builds and other fun content, go check out the YouTube channel, watch another video, and help support me in any way you can. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!